Good evening, everybody. My name is Eli, and this is the life of Eli. Uh, I'm thinking of changing the name to the instead of the life of Eli, Eli's life. You know, I just wanted to take an opportunity to make some observations about a channel that is called I Am Marwa, and his sister's channel's Dee Mwanga. Uh, You know, as far as both of them are concerned, I'll say this. I share a background, experience with a certain religion that's similar to something that they have experienced. Uh, there was a time when I was a Seventh day Adventist, and then I converted to Judaism. But, the thing that both Judaism and Seventh day Adventism teach about charity and doing charitable works is that when you do charitable work, you're supposed to do it and you're supposed to maintain silence about it. In other words, you shouldn't use your charitable works as a reason to boast. Okay, you shouldn't go around telling the world, look at this. This is charity work. Look at this house that we're doing is a charity house. Why do you not do that? For a lot of reasons. Number one is insensitive. Okay, the people who are receiving your charity might be embarrassed if you constantly keep flaunting them as being charity cases, as being people that you're doing charity for. It's like it may hurt their feelings. Poverty is not something that people are proud of. Being in need of charity is not something that people are proud of. So, if you're gonna do something kind for a person, what is your motivation in doing it? Is it to puff yourself up and have everybody think, "Oh my God, this is a charitable person," or is it to help another human being? If they're in need of help and you're helping them, good and fine. But that's in between you, them, and God. Okay, it's not in between you, them, and the world, because the question obviously becomes if you're boasting about doing charitable work, if you're posting videos on YouTube, boasting about how this is a charity house that you built, not only are you probably embarrassing that family and belittling that family, you know, the question then becomes why are you doing it? Are you doing it as an act of charity or as an act of self publication? And I find it instructive that Anne said something to, I forget, to one of those people who was showing how they use a very humble little latrine and, that is covered in rags and bushes. And she said, this is the closest that Anne has come to making a commentary about that. She said, whenever you talk about that and you show that, it makes me feel really, really bad. And it was completely ignored. It wasn't addressed or anything. But there's, Anne is getting a little bit of revenge. And I don't even know whether you will call it revenge. Anne is keeping it very real. Every time that Marwa tries to set her up for an opportunity to praise him, she correctly says, I want to thank the people who are donating, the people who are giving. You have to remember that money, very little of it is being given, is being spent by out of Marwa's pocket. That was money that he received by soliciting donation. By using content that he created with Anne. And there's another thing about that goes back to what I was just talking about regarding charity. It's like the sad part about it is that these are people like Ann are people that are being exploited by Dee Mwango and Marwa in order to self promote. Just like Dee helped an old woman in the Philippines and kept basically lying about who this woman is. She kept referring to her as a grandmother, and it wouldn't be so bad if it was kind of like an honorific, but it was to solicit funds in order to build her house. And it was a good thing that she did that, but the problem with both Marwa and his sister is that there's no real accounting for the money that they received. Nobody knows how much was received. Nobody knows how much was spent. Nobody knows how much of it went into their pocket. And finally, after all of that, boasting about how they were doing charity work for these people, Anne's house was left half done. The floor hasn't been done. The house hasn't been painted. And he came up with some lame reason for why he wasn't painting it, claiming that the father wanted to move in anyway before it was painted. And then he flees off to Nairobi and everything. I mean, I have a world of respect for anybody who does something kind for another human being. But if there's ever been an example of doing something with apparently good motives in all of the wrong way for all of the wrong reasons, it's the way that they going about, you know, uh, building that house. Everybody with any common sense knows the way the children are and knows the way the communities are. Forever after, whenever Anne and her family try to hold their heads up in that village, people are going to say, yeah, you have a nice house, a charity house. They're never going to be allowed to hold their heads up and have a little bit of self respect. They're going to be mocked for that. So, it's like how much of a favor was done for them. And then I'll make this final point and I'm done with it. If you look at the house that they are being moved out of, the house is pretty much structurally sound. All that the walls externally need to do to have done to them is they need to be replastered with mud, which in mud houses is something that's regularly done. So, the thing that people in this country are turning on to right now with tiny houses is using natural building techniques. If you build with cement, there are all kinds of off gassings that take place, and a lot of those other substances that have the same effect. Well, if you're building with mud, yeah, it calls for a certain amount of maintenance. You have to replaster it, and you might want to throw a coat of paint on it, but it can pretty much be structurally sound for a long time without anything being done to it. And what I would point out as an example of what I'm talking about is what Davy Jr. did. He didn't knock down his grandfather's house and rebuild it. He simply had the walls replastered, put some paint on it, put tile on the floor and everything. But it was essentially the same house. He didn't even re-roof it. He said, "I don't have the money. I'll just make some repairs because it was leaking, and the house looks perfectly good." So, the question becomes, was it even necessary to build those people on your house? Or was it more necessary to go ahead and do repairs on the house that they had, which, to the best of my knowledge, they never complained about being in? It was Marwa's idea. Oh, well, we're building them a new house. To what? For what purpose? The woman who donated the money initially donated it because she identified a need, and that was that they needed a better latrine. Not that they needed Marwa to make a hero of himself and milk and scam all of the people that are gullible enough to not consider why it is that they're donating money and threw money down a gopher hole by giving him money to build a house that was really not needed. The house that they were in was perfectly okay. It could have been upgraded. Lights could have been added. The walls could have been replastered and painted for a fraction of the money. And guess what? It would have worked just as well. What they really needed was a toilet. But anyway, I just wanted to share that because you know, as time goes on, I increasingly become disillusioned with Marwa and Dee Wanga. They like to portray themselves as being these super heroic people that are helping their village. And at some point or the other, I'm gonna do a video about slavery. They deny that they practice slavery. Slavery is when you cause people to engage in labor that you do not pay them for. And my understanding is that a lot of the young people that are working on Marwa's house and that worked on Anne's house were being urged to work and were not being paid. Okay, and somebody who can afford to build such a big house can afford to pay these people the little bit of money that they get paid in that part of the world. So whether he wants to admit it or not, if he is accepting labor that he is not paid for, not paying for, that's practicing slavery. And he too needs to look at the possibility of going ahead and shutting down that channel because they shouldn't allow a channel that promotes slave labor to flourish. Anyway, that's all that I have to share. Please like and subscribe and share my video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you're having a nice day.